But over to you, James. Thank you.
Great stuff. Well, thanks, Richard. And look, great to, I'm going to share my screen for hopefully everyone can start to see that now. So it's a good chance that for me to get a chance to chat to everyone about these incredible times that we're living in. And I know that a lot of people are feeling very nervous, feeling just generally a bit unsure about what's going on. So what I want to talk through today is just some things around how not to sell during this current time frame, because one of the key things really is that people I see in many respects doing a lot of the wrong things. So you know, what I want to just do is, as Richard mentioned, I'm a sales trainer and mentor. I've been doing that for a number of years now. I've got a YouTube channel. There's lots of free advice and resources that I present to people. So head on over to have a look. If you want to have a look at YouTube, there's some resources there. And I should also say as well, we're in, you know, I don't know how everyone's coping with isolation. I'm glad we're doing this now and not in 6 weeks' time, because that's how I reckon I'll look in 6 weeks' time. I always think it's funny when you think of, and you know, some of us are going to have that challenge, some of us not, maybe. Rich, no, I'm joking. I'm only joking. But the point is this, you know, I know. I knew you'd like that one. But the challenge is this. The reality is, you know, we are living in very unprecedented times, and what's going on in the world right now is, I don't think, you know, I just heard literally 15 minutes ago that Boris Johnson has now got COVID-19. So everyone is in this state of literally flux and what's going on and what happens, and there's just the whole world's in this sort of, I wouldn't sort of call crisis, but there's just uncertainty that exists everywhere for everyone. And I think one of the things that that happens when this happens is that if you're not careful, we all get into this idea of fear and worry and concern, and that creates other problems elsewhere. And what I've been doing with my clients and the people that I work with and the people that, so I mentor for a number of programs, I mentor for a number of networks, and what I'm talking to all of those businesses that are coming to me and asking me the question, James, what do I do right now? Where should I be? How should I approach things? And what I'm saying to people is, everyone is in this same situation. Everyone is in this challenge. You're not alone. But there are three sort of ways in which we can look and handle this. The first, you know, businesses are worried. Everyone's looking at cash flow and starting to say, okay, can we afford to do things? Have we got enough reserves in place? There are some lessons that a lot of business people have talked about in the past around having, you know, cash reserves in place. And those companies that have got that, I tell you now, are going to fly when some of this stuff works through. But the reality is, you know, I think there's three options. Some people are waiting to be rescued. So, you know, the cat in the tree here. Some people are saying, please help me. And that is an approach you can take. If you want to use that approach, that's fine. That's one approach to take. Other people are taking a few more risks. They're saying, okay, well, I'm just going to try and just approach sales and business in a direct way. And you know what? I even spoke to someone a few days ago who said, I'm just going to literally make 300 calls a day and hopefully one of them will stick. I'm like, okay, fine, it's a chance. Take that option. The other option is about actually how you take control. And one of the things that I always talk to people that I work with about sales is about being able to take control of the process. And I love this quote from Peter Drucker, which is around, you know, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And there are some that will succeed over the course of the next number of months, and it is going to be a number of months. I think we're all realistic around what's going to happen. This isn't going to be something that's going to stop anytime soon. I know the government have talked about lockdown for 3 weeks. I think it's going to be a little bit longer than that. But the reality is we've got to try and put stuff in our own hands. And I use a phrase a lot, which is eat or be eaten. And in life and in business, there is two options. You can be a pawn in someone else's game, or you can choose to take action yourself and to do the things that you want to do in order to eat. And the reality is, for me as a sales mentor and trainer and the people I'm working with, the first thing I'm saying to people is there is only one option to take, and that's to be in control yourself. And it is vital that we take action. So the first thing about this is that, you know, is there any golden, simple answers to all of these difficult questions? No. You've got some of the best minds in the world right now that are trying to work out what's happening. But one of the things that I'm encouraging people to still do is to take action. But, and the nature of this presentation today is also about taking the right action. So this is one of my favorite slides. You know, I love it, you know, in terms of, no, it was the hunting season. We had to visit your sisters near the lake. I am seeing some companies and some brands do the wrong things. And if you take a look at even the news this morning around Mike Ashley at Sports Direct, that's a classic example of someone that literally the public are now, I think, are going to shun actually Sports Direct. I was talking to someone on a WhatsApp group this morning. They were saying that They were talking like, let's make him a Ratner, Gerald Ratner. If everyone is old as me and remembers Gerald Ratner years ago, talked about how his products were rubbish and literally his business fell apart overnight. So I think Mike Ashley is going to be in a position where people literally see what he did and think you were just trying to profiteer from a certain situation. So what are the things that, you know, whilst I'm a positive person, I'm fundamentally a positive person and about doing the right things, but I want to just share 8 things that I think it's really, really crucial that you don't do in this current time frame. And as Richard said, if you've got questions, I know we've had a couple of questions already sent through, I'm happy to answer them. But here are 8 things not to do in the current crisis, okay? So the first thing is this, is about our mindsets. I'm a big believer that whilst, of course, the last 2-3 weeks and the next few weeks are going to be challenging, there is a concept and a thought process that everyone has stopped buying, and it's not the case. So one of the things that is a great article and piece of research by a company called Captify, who do research on Google searches and the searches that are being done by everyone across the world, in the UK specifically. And what you can see here is that they have literally been in a position where they've identified that, yes, of course, travel, events, those areas have suffered huge, massive hits in terms of searches. But there are other businesses and other areas, such as, for example, consumer goods, home delivery services, pharmaceuticals, that have seen humongous growth as a result of what's going on. So the first thing is, don't think everyone has stopped buying. I talked to a group last night, and I'm happy to put this out to this group as well. So one of the things that I work with a client in London who are seeing incredible growth in their business at the moment. They are looking to do some activity. So they're looking, so if you do HTML5 web banners and do them really well and want to, I've got an opportunity right now for someone that's looking to buy some services around that. They can't find anyone that they think is going to do the job they want at the way they're looking for. So there are opportunities out there at the moment. So please, firstly, don't think everyone has stopped buying. And the second thing I think is also which will link into what I'm going to talk about in a moment, is if you look on the right-hand side here, different groups of the population are searching for different things. So what the Captify research has shown is that millennials are searching for streaming, but actually business people are searching for exercise and wellness. Commuters are searching for home delivery. So different audiences are searching and engaging in different ways. And what that led me on to are 10 industries that are growing right now, that are literally growing right now. So the question for me, for you, is don't approach sales thinking that no one's buying anything. I'm not saying to people that to go and sell in straight away with people. Selling is an art and a form, and I've shared lots of videos and ideas on how to do this. And my whole approach, as I've shared today, is about doing what's right for the people you engage with. But also just have our mindsets open to the fact that here to say online education, IT equipment providers, home improvement providers, gardening products, children's products, indoor fitness, all of these industries are growing now. So don't sit there and think it's not going to happen for me. My question to you is, could you link your product or service to one of these markets? And maybe the actions to take from this is to review your customer base right now and to literally take an overview and say, who might have an industry that could still actually be growing as a result of this? Who may need some services? So the reality is, don't think everyone's is saying shut up shop. Yes, there are some difficulties, of course, but let's have a look at your customer base and see who could still be buying right now. And also maybe review your service and what you're doing and see what you can adjust to focus on one of those markets. So that's point number 1. So point number 2 is this, though. Don't think things are the same. They aren't. You don't need me to be a rocket scientist to tell you everyone, or a lot of people, are going into a bunker. They are literally going into a bunker. They are shutting their minds in some cases, and they're saying, no, I don't want to talk to anyone and do anything for a period of time. And that's the reality of where we are in many cases. So the worst thing we can do as salespeople is to think that, A, things are the thing. And I think most salespeople are sanguine enough now to know that it's not the case. But to think that it's going to, I have a lot of people that talk to me about how things are going to go back to how they were. They're not, okay? I believe what's happening with coronavirus in the world right now is going to change the way a lot of things happen. And so what we've got to be able to do is to adjust the way we work and we approach things as business people. And when I hear salespeople say, oh, well, I've been selling for 25 years and I know all the skills, I'm having to learn new skills every day at the moment. So we all have to be in a position where we accept that things aren't the same, and we got to then look at how we engage and improve the skills that we have in order to get better results. And one of the challenges for a lot of salespeople that, in fact, probably 75, 80%, I think I've made this figure before around how people do sales very badly, is they do two things. They firstly don't have what I call emotional sales intelligence. Emotional intelligence was a concept defined by Daniel Goleman a number of years ago. And the concepts around emotional intelligence are all about how self-aware you are. How, you know, when you're talking, is the other person listening or engaging with you? Or when you're really talking to someone, are you thinking from your self perspective or from their perspective? How are you being able to learn to shut your mouth and not talk when you're talking to someone, for example, when you've asked a question, for example? So look at how you can improve your sales skills and the skills you have. Don't think that things are the same as they always were, and that you can still carry on and you'll go back. You'll just have this couple of months and you'll go back to where they are. It's not going to be that way. And what I've got is I have what I call an emotional sales intelligence quiz. Feel free to take it, which will enable you to ask some questions around certain situations. It will give you a score, and it can give you some ideas on how you can hone your skills and improve to work in a certain way. This is the opportunity we now have as business and salespeople, is to accept that we can develop and improve our skills. The other key thing I'd also say is also, whilst we don't want to be selling to people, we also don't want to actually give up as well. And there's a stat there that is, that's common in many cases, that most sales opportunities do require follow-up and engagement. And the best salespeople are able to have conversations, use their self-awareness and their social skills to understand what's really happening, ask the right questions, and then arrange times to be able to move things forward with a prospect, maybe that's not going to buy right now, or maybe someone that's absolutely going to buy in over the course of time, or maybe that they are in a position they want to buy now because they see themselves, and there's a lot of people that will tell you, if you can invest your time and effort in the markets right now, you're going to see better results for it. So look, listen, a couple of actions to take for good salespeople. Listen to some of your calls. If you don't record your calls, I will provide a link that you can use. You should be using voice telephony systems now because we can't get into offices. Listen to your calls. How do you sound? Listen to the way you operate and think, actually, how do I sound in this situation? Do I talk most of the time, or does the prospect or the person I'm talking to talk? You should be talking for probably 30% of a conversation rather than the 70% that your prospect should be talking. So how do you sound? And write down 3 skills you can improve on, that as a business or salesperson you're weak on. Don't sit here and think my skills are all good and I don't have to change. So the third thing, and this is probably, if I was to have 2 or 3 of these points that are really important, is if I'm seeing so many salespeople at the moment who are self-focused. And what they're doing is they're focusing on their challenges and their issues, because their business, of course, the world is going into a bit of crisis right now. But this is a message that I've used in all of the sales presentations and work that I do. It is not about you, okay? And even though you might think it is, it isn't. The reality is, when you're engaging with prospects, even in good times, even without the coronavirus issues, don't be self-obsessed and self-focused as a salesperson. I see a lot of people that really try and show what I call sales vanity rather than show sales value. And prospects don't care for how great you are. They don't. They really don't care for you and what you think to you. They only care about 2 things. They care about, and I had this conversation with a lot of people. People only buy things for 2 reasons only. They have a problem or they have a want. That's it. People say it's need. I don't need a cake. I might want a cake. I don't need. Need is different to want. But problem or want are the 2 things that your prospects or the people you're engaging with care about. And so the thing you've got to focus on is about, what is that? What is that problem? What is that want? What does it look like? And what does it mean for them? And how do we get to know this stuff? We get to know by asking the right questions. So again, you'll see in a minute, I'm going to put a link to some resources, where on my website, there's lots of resources that you can have and use that around how you can ask the right questions to understand really what challenges people are going through. But please, please, please don't be self-focused in this time. If you do that as a salesperson, it is going to do, like I just mentioned about Mike Ashley and lots of other, I had someone leave me a message this morning from a sales perspective. We'd like you to, we think you should buy our product. It's like, I'm not interested. I just don't, if you don't offer me value, then I'm not going to engage with you. So this key thing of show sales value, not sales vanity.
James, can I just ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
You're happy for us to share your presentation with everybody because people are asking about links,
Yeah, of course, yeah,
etc.
100%. All the slides will be shared and be available. So
brilliant, and so we'll send that to everybody afterwards. And do you want me to leave you running, or are you happy for questions to be
if there's a
put
question
to you
that
as
way,
we
I'll
go?
tell you what should do. Should we do questions at the end? Does that make it easier, and then I can then go through some things from there. So and I can happily cover if any of them are there.
Thank you.
And I'll go through some of the slides I've got so we give ourselves plenty of time. So the fourth thing to do is there's a term that I use called serve before you sell. Modern day sales is not about going in and actually just saying, I want to get something from someone. Modern day sales, the best salespeople are able to educate, they're able to offer value, they're able to serve their audience before they sell. And so what I'm going to say to you is that if you don't serve your audience, if you don't give your audience something before you try and get something, it's going to hurt you and you're not going to get the results that you want. And there are some examples of, and here's 2 emails that I received in the last couple of days, both of which are fully focused on that company. Both of which, there's lots of we's and we are and I's, okay, rather than you. So people that focus literally on, I'm just got something and I want to sell right now, it's not going to work. It's simply, or if it is work, you're going to have to be luck for you to land on someone's inbox at the right time for when they need to buy that product or service. But invariably, most of the companies that I see emails from like this, I go, I have no interest in who you are. You don't know me. You don't seem to care about me. All you seem to care about is how you do things. And you want me to buy something without giving me something for it. That approach is not going to work. And I really encourage people not to do it. How should you do it? Help and serve people. So a couple of examples here. There's a guy called Jason Greystone, brilliant guy. Runs a product called Tears of Freedom. He's focused his last 10, 15 years, being very successful, and he wants to help people achieve financial independence and freedom and to get their finances in order. Listen to his podcast, always free. Jason will provide lots and lots of advice, but here was something he put out the other day called a crisis thrival kit, which allow people to enter information and then it will provide some stuff for them. Brilliant type of example of that. Or another great example is CIS. So CIS are one of my clients based in Farringdon. Are understanding that a lot of people are having IT issues at the moment and are saying, okay, well, I'm not sure if I know how to do certain things. CIS, the guys there, Neil and the team have said, right, we're going to try and provide some help and support, free help and support. They're launching something which will be, if you've got a problem with your IT at home or something's not working, they're going to offer a free helpline so that people can get access to some help and resource to help them rather than being in a position where they're being sold to. So really good example there. Another one is a great one, a guy called Jacob McMillan, based in the US, creating great content. So he's created a list of 100 copywriting tips. So if you are doing marketing or sales at the moment, head over to Jacob McMillan's site. Great, really good article in a list of copywriting tips that you can use on email, on ads, on whatever you want to do. So again, giving things. Another one of my clients, for example, Alex Seary yesterday, put out, he helps turn police officers into entrepreneurs. At the moment, yes, you'll be amazed. People, he's busier than ever, but he's actually giving people a free book. So he's written a book, giving them a free book. He's giving before he's trying to gain. Content is more important than ever before. It really is. And I'm going to double down on creating more valuable content. I'd love to hear from you guys. What is the content you want? What are the resources and materials? I do a video every Saturday on my YouTube channel. I do a Saturday sales tips. I've got lots and lots of resources on my website. If you head to jameswhite.business, you will see lots of resources that I want to give to you guys to help you sell more effectively. So let me know what you need. I'm going to create more and more content over the course of the next few weeks because I know it's more important. And also a couple of things. Help doesn't need to be complex. So I wanted just to use this example of, if you want to help and serve people, there's a company called NGI Finance based in the Whitney area, I think, who literally provided a simple email yesterday to say, actually, if you're intending to apply for this loan for coronavirus, here are some of the things that you're going to need. Just useful. I'm not in that position myself, but I was looking at it going, if I was a business reading that, I'd go, that's useful. It's helpful. So focus on literally adding value and giving. And my actions to you to take would be this. Look at the last 5 communications you sent. Have they been about you, or have they been about helping and serving your market and your prospect? If they're about you, you need to change it. You need to focus on being able to help and work with the people you're engaging with. And my other comment is, what 3 pieces of content, if I asked you each now to give me 3 pieces of content that offer real value to your target audience right now, what would they be? So that's the fourth point. The fifth point is this: don't think you know it all. Salespeople have this, you know, we are about adding value, but salespeople also have this concept that they know it all. Don't do that. Instead of putting others in their place, put yourself in their place. And these two films are a great inspiration, I think, to us. Anyone that's watched these two films, What Women Want and What Men Want, it was all about Mel Gibson and Taraji being able to read the minds of the people they work with. And what I'm encouraging you to do is to be able to start really showing empathy and thinking through what's going on in the prospects and the customers' minds that you've got right now. And the way we do that is we get on the phone and talk to people. You know, I have a phrase I use: you don't email the fire brigade if your house is on fire. So now is the best time to arrange some times with your clients, pick up the phone and talk to them around what's going on. So identify 5 clients you could speak to and have a focused chat, and write down some questions you can use that are asking things such as, tell me more about how the impact this has had on your business. What actions are you having to take right now in order to secure where you are? How do you see this, you know, how do you intend to come out of this challenging time? What are the actions you take? And write down those and start engaging with the people that you know and work with, and find out what's going on in their world. And do that by phone. Don't just do that by social media or email. Do it by phone. Pick up the phone and talk to people. The actions we've got to take as sales and business people is that we've got to get closer and understand the people that we've worked with in the past. So the 6th thing is this: don't be unprepared. I see a lot of salespeople, a significant amount of salespeople, and this is great. I mean, this guy who literally went out of his room, hotel room, and literally, you know, went to drop the room service off, and suddenly the door locked. So there he was, stark and bonnet naked, really in front of everyone. The idea is, in sales and in business, salespeople are unprepared, I see, in a lot of cases, and you're going to get objections. You're going to get people saying things to you right now. You're going to say to people, I'm not interested in it right now, or I love this cartoon on the right hand side is one I use all the time. No, I can't be bothered to see any salesman. I've got a battle to fight. If you've got a client, okay, who's going through, if your service or product offering can make a reduction in cost, for example, for them, then they're going to potentially want to talk to you right now, because of the fact that their cost of, you know, their revenue's gone through the roof, their revenue's gone through the floor, sorry, and therefore they're going to look at how they can make adjustments. So look at how you deal with objections. You're going to get objections that happen, and the best business people know how to respond when that happens. So don't just sit and think that I'm just going to not do anything, or not I'm just going to call people up and just have a, you know, no outline script or framework to use. Don't be unprepared. Identify 5 responses that you normally get from a prospect, or even I'm going to be producing some coronavirus objection responses you can use, and start to write them down, so you can actually then start to think, when someone says this to you, what can you say that's not insensitive, but just to be able to carry the conversation forward, or to find out where things are. So number 7, I'm coming to the end of the session really, but is this. Number 7 is don't attempt to sell to everyone. I see a lot of salespeople doing what I call scattergun approaches. I'm just going to try and, you know, throw loads of shit at the wall and hope some of it sticks. And the reality is, I always say, is you can't be everything to everyone, but you can be something to someone. I encourage you to review your business at the moment, and your mission and your values. What are you and your company on this planet to do? Okay, what is your value proposition? And look at that from the perspective of, who do you target? What's your ideal customer profile? What are the pains that they gain from working with you? And what are the gains? What is the pain they have, and what are the gains they have? And there was a great analogy someone once said to me, which was, is your business a vitamin or a painkiller? And the reality is that, you know, you've got to think about what you're doing and what you do as a business and a salesperson. If you're in the position of offering pain relief at the moment, potentially people are still buying that because they're going through pain. But review that, look at who your perfect client is, and define this perfect customer and persona. People say to me about, I want to sell, you know, I don't want to focus just on one group, because it means then that I can't sell to everyone. That's not the point. You can still engage and do business with other people, but just know who your perfect sweet spot client is, and why they're perfect for you, who they are. Create that persona. So I've been working with one of my other clients again, and then they've created a persona of someone. They know that. And what it then means is, when they're creating communications and scripts and outlines, they know who they're targeting, and they actually then know they're writing or communicating with that person in mind, because they know they can solve a problem or want for that person. And as I say to people always, people buy the whole, not the drill. Don't focus your work and what you're doing on the thing you sell. It's the outcome that people are buying. They're buying the thing that it gives them, not necessarily the service itself. So really look and take some time. So Do a detailed persona of who your ideal client is. Why do they buy from you? What outcome do you give them? Why will they still want to buy from you right now, even through these challenges? Don't just think that you can just go after everyone. Just try and identify a group, maybe one of those groups in that first list of 10 that you can then start to use and work with. And the final thing is this, I say this, is don't fight this change, embrace it. So people that are fighting the change are saying, oh, we're going to go back to normal, everything's going to go back to normal. I think you're living in dreamland, I really do. The world has changed and it's not going to go back to how it was. We're going to have to move forward. And I want to use this as an example of a lady whose business has been potentially decimated over the course of the last few weeks through the coronavirus. A lady called Lorna runs a business called My Events. Funny enough, guess what? Right now, no one's running events. So what's she done? She could have put her head down and said, oh, the world's shit and I'm going to struggle. Or actually, she could say, actually, well, where do people go now? People are doing online events. So I've just hired Lorna, and I'd happily put you in contact with her if you want to reach out to her. She now runs my webinars. So I'm running a series of webinars and support there. I don't want the stress and strain of having to run all those elements. I just want to come in and do what I'm good at. And ultimately, so Lorna's now moved her business from face-to-face events to an online event business. You've got to evolve, and Charles Darwin said it, that it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change.
James, I've just shared Lorna's details in the chat, so if anybody wants to connect,
and I really would recommend, if you're running more online events and you want to look professional with that, talk to someone, an expert that can help you with that. And we've got to evolve. And like I always say, the mind is a parachute. You've got to be open to everything. The changes that we're going through, I think it's going to be 6 weeks of lockdown. Personally, it's just my view. I could be wrong. We're going to go through more stuff over the course of the next period of time. So be open to change and be open to looking at everything that you're doing and how you can do it better and do it differently. And brainstorm the problems that your marketplace has. How has the coronavirus changed that? What can you do differently? Focus on what your key missions are, and also be prepared to pivot. The reality is people talk about, if anyone knows heard of Tony Robbins here, for example, who's one of the world's greatest inspirational trainers. Tony Robbins started as someone that's to help people stop smoking. He built a position and then pivoted. Richard Branson, Alan Sugar, they all started and then pivoted. So be prepared to evolve and look at where your business is and what you're doing. The worst thing you could do is sit on something that was there because you've always done it that way. Your market is going to change. The world has changed. Don't just suddenly think things are going to be back to the same. They're not. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is to give people some of the support and help. I'm offering some free consultations where I'll give you some time over through Zoom, where I can give you some time to help you come to look at some of those things. I've had 2 calls this morning with people that I'm doing exactly that same thing. I'm trying to get them to think differently. So look, those are some of the things I've had not to sell in the current time. And I guess the question is, for you as business people and salespeople, we can make excuses, we can tell everyone else it's not our fault, or we can take some action and be in control. And what I'd rather you guys be is be in control, know what to do and what not to do. So there's some things I've outlined here of what not to do, but there's some things what we can do. If I can provide help and support, I will help you in any way I can to try and come through these challenging times. Doing things in the right way that build your brand now for the future, rather than taking short-term actions that are going to hurt you and potentially, like in the Mike Ashley case and other people I see, cause people to say, I don't want to even talk to that company ever again. A reputation is hard earned but easily lost, and I don't want you to be in that position by doing the wrong sales action. So they're in my my 8 elements of what I think you need to do. Don't think everyone stopped buying. Don't think things are the same as they were. Don't be self-focused, please. That's a big one. Please don't be self-focused. You should never be that as a salesperson. Don't expect to get before you give. You're going to have to give and give advice and support and value to your prospects. Don't think you know it all. Be prepared to learn and adjust with things. Don't be unprepared. Don't be in a position where you're winging it. You can, lazy sales and business people wing things. Don't attempt to sell to everyone, and don't fight the change. Embrace it. So look, those are some of my points. I hope they've been helpful and useful. And what I would say is, if you have got any queries, if you want to reach out to me, my contact details are there. I'm happy to help you in any way I can. I'm working with a number of people at the moment to just try and help them and support them and get them through this time. So look, what I would say to you is this: it is shit out there right now. The times are tough, but there are some things we can do and the things not to do. Don't take the actions that I've said, because if you do, you're going to potentially get caught out. Let's do the right things that can hopefully get us to get through these tricky times and come out the other side. So hopefully that's been useful. I've gone 3 minutes over, Rich, but happy to ask any questions. I know there's a couple of questions that have come in, and if I can help people, I definitely will be.
So obviously we have overrun, and we've got 4 or 5 questions that we'll go through. So if you do have to leave us and you have got a question, please do email me or Lorna, and we'll get that question to James, and I'm sure we'll be delighted to get back to you. We've just got a few slides to run through, won't be too long. Then we'll go to questions, and then as James mentioned, Lorna Reeves, she'll just say a few words about webinars and what she's doing to support James and how she potentially could support you as well.
But one thing I just did want to mention, I think it's credit to you guys as well, Rich. I know you probably didn't need this, but for what you guys are doing at B4, I think is brilliant now. You run a face-to-face business. I think you're evolving, you're changing, you're moving things online. I think I read somewhere that you've got an offer at the moment where you're literally giving people access to resources. So I think that's a great example of how you're giving before people, trying to gain. And that's the sort of stuff I think it's great that you guys are leading from the front there and doing that as well. So.
No, that's great. Thanks, James. And I appreciate that. If you could put that on the screen, actually, that's pertinent to mention. So we've got a 90-day free trial. If anybody watching or in your networks, you want to circulate a link that Keith's put into the chat, join B4 for 90 days for free and get access to all the digital benefits that we're offering at the moment. So there's no obligation, no credit card details, nothing. It's just not the right thing. Just trying to provide some support in these difficult times, as James is saying. And funny enough, on your point about Mike Ashley, I was talking to somebody yesterday, James, and the lady said that she's got a hit list of companies she's never going to deal with again. Sports Direct, Wetherspoons, Virgin, they're all on there. And as you say, it's a crucial time at which you can't do the wrong thing, and you've got to do the right thing. And as you say, not put yourself front and centre. So we just got another couple of screens just to run through. Anybody wants to get some updates from the B4 community, any B4 members that have got any updates, please do send them through and we'll put them on the business support pages. Colin's putting a daily COVID-19 update, just the bullet points of the latest developments from government. So that will be going on every morning after the government's presentation the day before. We've got the B4 live pages, so we've got a dedicated link, or you can access it through the B4 website, so you can see upcoming webinars and register, as Keith's highlighting there in the white box. And then we've got further down, if you scroll further down, we've got the videos from the past talks that you can access. So James's will be there later today. You can watch the videos, and then we'll be sending you James's slides and his video hopefully later on today. We're turning those around very quickly. And just another thanks to the B4 team for everything they're doing remotely. They're working fantastically. So thanks, guys. You've been brilliant. And then Monday, we've got Alison Hale, Be Resilient Now, 5 Practical Ways to Stay Effective as a Leader. I'm sure Keith will be putting that link into the box in the chat as well. So thank you, everybody. I see we've retained the majority of you, which is great. So should we go through the questions? James, have you got the ones that you had sent to you before, or do you want me to?
I know there was one, someone mentioned, I think it was Amanda, I think they mentioned around in the hotel space, I think, is that right? But do you want to cover off that one? I think, is that the question?
Yeah, do you want to come on and talk, Amanda, or are you happy for James just to answer your question? Guess that's a no.
So okay. I think the question that Amanda had from reading through it yesterday was that she works in the hospitality space with a hotel, and she provides some services for them to help them deal with the challenging times at the moment. And the question was, how can she approach things in a way that is not selling and to engage from that perspective. So one of the things, going back to, hopefully the points I've mentioned, Amanda, will be helpful here. Know your target market, who your sweet spot is. And people say, oh, I do weddings. What type of weddings do you do? So for example, do you do weddings for specific audiences? I had a client of mine in one of my other businesses that specifically targets Indian weddings, for example. So focus maybe on your target sweet spot of client, definitely for one. And the other definite thing I would say is, what content are you providing? So I wrote down here literally things that I thought would be really useful for a hotel to write. So, 3 tips on how to get an upgrade at a hotel. Okay, I'd download that. I'd have a look at that. You know, maybe if you're doing event activities, you know, 3 things that cause events to fail, or 5 most forgotten about items that we get asked for at an event. Create some stuff that creates value around what you offer as a service. The ultimate thing is people come to your events right now and they're not coming. So I can't tell you that suddenly people are going to suddenly buy those things tomorrow. But what I can tell you is if you create value and you create people a story around what you do, and don't be sales focused, but be about talking about how to, you know, maybe something, you know, towards the end of the year, for example, around events that, you know, literally you can start thinking, you know, I think people, once things get back to a little bit of normality, and maybe that's going to be, you know, the next few months, people are going to want to book stuff up. So maybe there's some stuff you can help them with to do that. The other thing is also look at how you make the process of buying easy. Could you do some sort of tool online that enables them to search access to different venues, or to different resources that you've got? I don't know, but I definitely think creating content. The other thing I did put down here was partnerships. So maybe there are some other organizations in your local area who are also maybe a golf club, for example, or maybe there's a local a high-end restaurant that have been shut right now that you can reach out to and do some partnership stuff. There are different things that we can think about right now, and I know in your space definitely it's been hit exceptionally hard, but those are a couple of the ideas I mentioned. I will try and drop you an email, Amanda. I know I've been copied into that email to hopefully provide some thoughts and help there. The reality is there's no one that's going to buy tomorrow when your hotel is shut, because unfortunately the government's done that, but there's creation of value you can give that can position your brand or the brand of the client in the right way. So I hope that helps.
Great, thanks, James. I mean, we've got a question from Vicky. Vicky, I'm not sure if you want to come on screen, but I mean, or whether James has answered your query. You're there. Okay, brilliant.
I'm here. You have just partly mentioned it, answered it there, James, with Amanda's question, but I spotted myself, and there's a few of my colleagues I've seen are in the webinar as well from other Oxford University venues. Obviously, you said in your main talk about, you know, events kind of taking different formats and moving online and stuff like that. Obviously, that's not great if you're a venue that hosts events. So I was just wondering any kind of further sort of insights, info, how you maybe see it developing over the coming months.
Yeah, it's a really difficult point, Vicky, and my heart, you know, feels for you guys and where you're at the moment, because I know, you know, you physically can't do events at the moment. The government have said that you can't. I still think that what you know, we're not going to go back to the old ways of doing business, but people are going to come together again in time. So my question would be for you why should I choose your venue when that time passes?
Yeah.
And what are you giving and showing that can make me think you're top of mind? And also, who is your perfect client? Again, one of the things I see in a lot of cases with a lot of clients is this: we're going to go after everyone. I generally think that's part of the problem. And I made mistakes even in a previous business. I wasted £250,000 by being everything to everyone, not something to someone. So I really encourage people to, whilst you're going through these periods, who is the perfect customer you've ever worked with? What was make them so perfect? Why were they great? And who was the nightmare customer as well? Who was the person who said, I don't want to work with those people? And then once you know what those people are, to find some content, and again, I'm happy to share ideas around, you know, content that person would think that's useful, that's helpful, that's valuable.
Yeah.
I believe those elements are really important. The other thing is also to get on the phone and talk to your clients or the people that you were speaking to before and just have a chat. So one of the things I say to people, I have a model around how sales is like dating. And I talk to people around how actually if you just talk to people and have a chat with them and, hey, how are things right now? And talk to me about what you're thinking and what's going on. Sometimes people just want to talk to you. And what you might find is that they give insights that you weren't aware of. So get on the phone to them and talk to them, not to the intention to sell, but just to get to know where they're at, find out what's happening in their world, and build those rapport and relationships would be what I would do. So that when, hopefully in the coming weeks, that the government does open up the ability for events and other activities to happen, you can then take part in that. But I also do think as well that, you know, you guys are going to, you know, the events industry in general and the hospitality industry has been so hard hit. So the question for me is, how are you going to stand out in that group once you come through those times? And I think you can do some of that work now.
Brilliant,
so I can't give you, unfortunately, a golden, because I can't make it open up and right now, but I do believe that content is king at the moment, good content that adds value. And I think if you can create those elements as a sales and business person, it's going to be is going to help you. Because when you then do reach out to those people, rather than trying to say, do you want to book your event here, what you can say to them is, hey, look, actually, I just thought I'd share with you a guide that I've created on 4 things to do to ensure a great event, or you know, 5. And people then start going, oh, they're nice, Vicky's nice, rather than she's trying to sell to me.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Vicky. David, I'm not sure whether you want to come in on screen or you want me to ask your question for you. Do you want to? Oh, there he is.
I've got no camera, but I can ask you. My video's not coming on. So yeah, it was really. I know there's a few of us on this webinar that have in a similar situation. We're in financial services, and it's sort of advice on what you'd say on how we go about prospecting. Like someone like myself is relatively new in business, so prospecting is key, and a lot of face-to-face meetings how I'd meet clients. I've had some really good takeaways already from the stuff you've said about, you know, not making my posts about please help me, I'm desperate for clients on that level. It's more about how can I fix pains and problems. But is there anything else you'd advise for this industry?
Yeah, so it's an interesting point actually. So financial services are one of the areas that in that Captify audience are growing significantly actually. People are still searching on financial requirements and what they're doing. And like I mentioned, one of my clients in London that does financial trading has seen record numbers. So my question would be, it may be in your space is to, again, go back to the key things I've talked about the value add. What can you do that can add value and that can help and support people? The NGI Finance one example I gave was a really interesting one. They work with another company that I know, and the reality is they were just offering stuff that's useful. So I do think you've got to still become useful and valuable to your prospect. Being honest, I was saying these things anyway before coronavirus hit. A lot of salespeople just think they should go out and say, hey, I'm great, look at me and buy my stuff. And actually people go, nah, I'm not interested in that. I want to know what you can do for me. So I would definitely go, you know, maybe dig down a little bit more into your niche audience. Who is your perfect customer again? What makes them perfect? Why are they going to buy from you? What can you then give them? And what are the problems and wants that those people have got? So dig into that again. So really look and start saying, you know, what are the problems that people have right now? Of course, it's about they haven't got income and the such like. And if you've got access to a solution that can help them solve that, then great. So, for example, I'll give you an example right now, which I think is an interesting one in the finance space. I think the self-employed, the regulations that the Chancellor came up with last night doesn't going to help a lot of self-employed people. I think there are going to be opportunities for a lot of businesses to want to try and access other types of finance or loans. Maybe there's an area where you could go in and offer that service to the owners and the founders. I don't know. I think, you know, the reality is maybe people have got assets at the moment that they can make use of more than they had before.
Yeah, and it'd be more that side of it for me really, because it's the pensions investment side of it, as opposed to we've got commercial finance lending who've been kept quite busy, but it's on that sort of future goals, future planning side.
Okay, so maybe one of the other things you can also then do is look at, like I say, other areas. So, for example, I know in the trading sense, you know, open up. I know a lot of traders that have made more money in the last 2-3 weeks than anyone else has ever made because they've understood how to do it. So, you know, people are in a position where they're a bit scared around. I do think in finance in general, and if I'm honest, one of the things that I see again a lot is people try and sell too early in the process. I think your sales cycle for people to trust you with their money can generally be 6-12 months, if not more. So my question, I could be wrong, but it feels like to me, it's one of those areas where people want to just really know that they work with someone they care with and trust. And, you know, I always say to people the 5 key words of sales as a problem one: understanding, get to know that person. Belief, do they have belief you can solve their problem, and finally, do they trust you to make it happen? So, you know, whilst it's probably not going to help necessarily bringing business in right now, although it might, I would definitely look at, you know, creating materials that can help you show belief in what you guys do. Maybe other thing as well, just to do, maybe get some testimonials done. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot, I'm doing a video actually. I have a YouTube channel, you know, called, you know, with Saturday sales tips and the such like. The one on Saturday is all about referrals. So at the moment, I'm saying to people, go and get referrals from your existing clients. If you haven't got them, then get those up, because that will help build belief and trust in what you do. So at a point in the right time, you can then share those elements with people. But I do think financial services is an interesting one. I do think people are still intrigued by that area at the moment. So my question would be, ask your clients what are the worries they're having, and maybe there's another service or product you could offer alongside that you could add to them.
Brilliant, thank you.
Great,
thanks, thanks, David. Anybody else have any questions at all that they want to share with James? If you do have a question, I mean, we run these pretty well every day this week, and we've had a few questions come in afterwards. So this isn't your last chance. So we will circulate James's details on the presentation, and you're more than welcome to
just on the point, Dave,
contact.
Richard, about the finance as well. Go back, look at the markets that are growing. Just to your point, Dave, look at the markets that are growing, and look at the business owners that are growing in that space. And don't be opportunistic, but you know, again, pick your niche. There are people that are making a lot of money at the moment right now in the markets, and they're going to want to potentially work with someone that can help them in that space. So, you know, success leaves clues, as I always call it. So look at those people and try and see if you can engage with them. So, or offer value to them.
Brilliant. Thanks, James. Thank you, everybody. So we've still got a number of you on, and you're more than welcome to stay. So if Lorna, would you like to join us?
Absolutely.
You're still there? Brilliant. Good to see you.
And thanks for having me on. Good to see
No,
you.
brilliant. Well, I'll leave it to you. You're obviously working with James and supporting James, and obviously James is getting a huge amount of benefit from the support you're providing. So it'd be good for you to share with the rest of the participants how best they can run their own webinars.
Absolutely. And this is a huge shift for me, because I, like a lot of people in the group, work in the physical event space. So converting everything to online was definitely a matter of need. And I think it's really interesting that everybody in the world seems to be trying to shift online in some capacity at the moment. So it's really for people to think about why they want to move online. Are they looking to serve their existing clients, but just in a slightly different way? In which case something like Zoom meetings or even Skype will probably service their need very, very well. If they're looking to do something completely different with their business, or perhaps look at delivering a slightly different service, that's when you might want to start thinking about things like Zoom meetings for a larger group of people, so the paid service, or even Zoom webinar. And there's quite a big distinction between Zoom meetings and Zoom webinars. And I'm going to run a session on that next week, which I'm happy to go into the intricacies of it. And I want people to be really aware, because there's quite a financial significance between Zoom meetings and Zoom webinars. So it's really important that you think about what it is that you're trying to deliver to your clients and potentially prospects at this time. Are you looking to just share information? Are you looking to pull a collective of people together and have it as like a contact center or a bit of a think tank? Or are you looking to run educational workshops where you might need that real interactive connectivity, when you might want to think about using some of the functionality around the breakout rooms and the whiteboards? So those kind of functions really bring that classroom experience into the webinar and take it away from being a broadcast and to it being much more immersive and much more contact. The other thing to probably cover off is how you actually get people into your webinars, and it's about reaching out to the community that you've already got, but also ramping up interest around your potential clients, so your prospects, people that would be in your target market. And really think about how you can offer them value and offer them content so that they start to know, like, and trust you, and they start to join your community before you spend hours and hours writing your materials for your webinar and then have no one show up. So really, by identifying those few things, so what are you trying to get out of your meeting and webinar? What is the function that you're going to deliver? And then who you're trying to target, you'll make sure that you're going to deliver the best content and in the most applicable way that's also cost effective for you. As I mentioned, I'm happy to answer questions. If people are trying to get online at the moment, please do chuck your questions in the group chat or raise your hand. I'm happy to answer those, or please do drop me an email. I'm more than happy to jump on a call with you and sort of walk you through some basics. I'm more than happy to do that. But just try and be a little bit different, a little bit quirky. With everybody jumping online at the moment, it's easy to get lost in the noise. So by being really targeted and really specific means that you're speaking to people that actually want to hear your message, and two, you're going to get something back from it. So I hope that kind of helps and gives some people some focus that are thinking about moving online in the next week or so.
Brilliant. Does anybody, thank you, Lorna, really appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for Lorna at all? Please do either come on live or put your question in the message box? No? You obviously answered everybody's questions there, Lorna. Perfect. Great. Well, thank you, everybody, again. Really good to see you, James, and to meet you, Lorna. Thanks to everybody for your questions and your time. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Have hopefully a nice, relaxing and peaceful weekend. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.